Hi everyone, today we are talking foolproof blushes to wear with bright eyeshadows. Now I get asked this question a lot. What blush do I match with my blue eyeshadow or green eyeshadow? And honestly, it's taken me a really long time to get comfortable with even applying blush on myself, like in combination with my eyeshadow. A lot of it is test run, a lot of it is just learning what works for your skin tone. So most of what I'm going to be showing you today is stuff that I found works for me. And hopefully if you're around the same sort of color range that I am, you'll find that these work for you too. I'm gonna start off with the most neutral blushes and work my way up to brighter colors. But the one that I have gone back to time and time again is Tarte's Exposed Blush. This is the only blush that I have ever hit pan on, so you can tell I use this a ton, and I find that this pairs well with basically every color of the rainbow. I say that, but I probably wouldn't pair this with a red eyeshadow look unless you really wanted something understated on the cheeks. I find that this blush looks very good with darker brights. And by that, I mean something that's like a deep purple or a royal blue. Something that is deeper, but still a color. Now, it does look unbelievably boring in the pan. Everybody says this about this blush, but this thing is so transformative. And because it's so neutral and rosy brown, it just really blends into your cheeks and adds a little bit of a pop without overdoing it. In general, when you're wearing something pretty bright on your lids, you don't want something that's gonna detract from that color on your cheeks. And for that reason, this blush is very, very good. Now that was a more matte blush. It might be a hint of satin, but I would consider that matte. If you want something in that same vein that is roughly the same shade but has some shimmer to it, MAC's Warm Soul is your blush of choice. This is one of those shades that I feel everybody went on and on about on YouTube several years ago, and it kind of fell by the wayside. But this blush is fantastic at being used when you just don't know what to wear, but you want something that's gonna be luminous on your cheeks. This is more of an amber rose shade. If I compare this color to Exposed, you can see that this one is definitely a bit more rosy pink, and this one has a sheen of almost peach, I would say, to it. This does give an absolutely beautiful glow to the point that you may not even need highlighter when using this. So I would tend to stick with this blush when I'm doing something more like a warm look. So yellows, oranges, maybe a little bit of red, but more in that yellow to orange range. All right, so those are my two neutrals. I would categorize them as almost slightly taupey, warm rose kind of blush color. These next ones are gonna be more in the pink family because although I don't identify myself as liking to wear pink, it does look good on me. So these blushes will go with brightly colored eyeshadow just because it gives me a nice flush, but it looks like a natural flush. The first one I'm going to mention is BECCA's Flowerchild. This is one of their mineral blushes and it's been around for a really long time. This one in particular has been my absolute go-to in, I wanna say almost like 6 months now. When I don't know what to wear, when I've got green eyeshadow on or blue sometimes, this is what I reach for. It does go kind of peach pink, and there is a bit of a hint of a, I wanna say there's almost like gold to it, but it's not overkill and it doesn't look like you've got gold on your face. I feel like this color is a bit of a toned down NARS's Orgasm because it's not so much like glitter reflect. There's not so much sheen. This one is just a really simple blush, but it always looks beautiful. I've never had this thing go on my cheeks and been like, oh, that's not gonna work for me. This one is absolutely fail-safe. And impressively, I'm actually starting to make a bit of a dent in it, which is pretty rare for blush, I would say, because I've got a lot and I kind of rotate them. So this one is definitely very well loved. Another absolutely effortless blush is by Hourglass, and this is their ambient lighting blush in the shade Diffused Heat. And I like this for specifically 2 reasons. Number one, to me, these veins of color look very coral, and coral is a color that I am very attracted to. However, when it mixes with this powder, it actually goes on my cheeks quite pink, which is more attractive on me than coral. So I kind of get the appeal of looking at a pan that is coral, but I also get the better look of the fact that it's actually pink on my cheeks. So these two mix together to make a very soft pink color. And what's wonderful about the fact that there is so much of this beige striping through it is that you don't have to be too worried about going overkill. I can be someone who tends to over blush, and this one does a really good job at preventing me from going too far. So if you're like me and you're a little bit worried about over blushing your cheeks, although sometimes I do quite like that look, you might want to look into the Hourglass blushes because that veining is in all of them and it really helps to diffuse how much color you're putting on your cheeks. And again, because this is a soft pink, it goes on my cheeks beautifully, but it also matches basically every single color of the rainbow when you got that on your eyes. Now, the last one I'm going to talk about is definitely the one that has the most pigment, so you need to be gentle with this one. I wasn't warned, and I got it home, and I went to go put blush on for work the next day, and it was like, boom! So much color on my cheeks. I looked like a clown. However, when applied correctly, Illamasqua's Hussy is absolutely beautiful. This is probably the most coral toned color out of the ones that I have in this video, and it is stunning. It is so freaking pretty. This is more of a pink toned coral, so you won't find too much orange base in it. But again, tap your brush in this very lightly and apply the faintest dab, and it will be absolutely beautiful. This one in particular, I tend to pair with green eyeshadow looks and purple ones. I have worn it with red eyeshadow looks, but I find I almost want a red blush for that, which is not included in this video, but just keep that in mind. If you're wearing red eyeshadow, I personally prefer the way red blush looks as well. But if you're not like brave enough to go down the red eyeshadow and red blush route, try something a little bit leaning towards red, but hasn't really made it there yet, kind of almost coral, but more pink. You might find that that works really well for you. All right, so those are my 5 picks of blushes that I feel work with a variety of brightly colored eyeshadow looks. But honestly, it's so much trial and error. I know people want to find like what will work 100% of the time, but like, you don't know until you get it on your skin. I had no idea. I'm not a makeup artist. I had no idea how stuff would look until I started pairing it with my eyeshadow looks. And honestly, sometimes I get it wrong. Sometimes I put on my blush after I've done my eyes and I'm like, no, that did not work out. But then you store that information in the back of your head for the next time and you just don't do it. You use another blush and you try something different. Experimenting with makeup is not a bad thing, and in fact, it will teach you what you like on yourself, which frankly is the most important part of all of this. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!